The champagne sparkled under the crystal chandeliers of the Belmont Grand Hotel, where Manhattan's elite gathered for the annual charity gala. Among the crowd of designer gowns and tailored tuxedos, Vanessa Hart moved like a panther on the prowl, her emerald dress clinging to her figure with calculated precision. She had perfected the art of attraction over 5 years, the subtle laugh, the lingering glance, the way she tilted her head when wealthy men spoke about their achievements. Tonight, she had her sights set on 2 men. The first was Marcus Chen, standing near the auction table in an understated navy suit that probably cost more than most people's cars. His Patek Philippe watch caught the light occasionally, and she'd done her homework. Tech entrepreneur, multiple successful exits, estimated net worth of $47 million. He spoke quietly with the event organizers, occasionally checking his phone with a slight furrow in his brow. The second was Derek Ashford III, commanding attention at the center of the ballroom in a custom Armani tuxedo, with diamond cufflinks that could probably fund a small school. His booming laugh echoed across the marble floors as he regaled a group of admirers with stories about his latest yacht. Purchase, third-generation wealth, luxury car dealerships across 3 states, always photographed at the hottest clubs and restaurants. His Instagram followers numbered in the hundreds of thousands. Vanessa's decision took exactly 3 seconds. She glided toward Derek, her practiced smile already in place. Marcus Chen, despite his wealth, seemed too quiet, too reserved, too ordinary. Derek was the prize, the kind of man who could elevate her to the lifestyle she'd always dreamed about. Private jets, Mediterranean vacations, exclusive parties where champagne flowed like water, and everyone knew your name. "Is this seat taken?" she asked Derek, her voice honey-smooth as she gestured to the empty chair beside him. Derek's eyes traveled from her stilettos to her perfectly styled hair, and his smile widened. "It is now, Derek Ashford. And you are absolutely stunning, Vanessa Hart. And you're quite charming yourself." Within an hour, she had him completely captivated. She laughed at his jokes, touched his arm at precisely the right moments, and listened with seemingly rapt attention as he talked about his cars, his properties, his exclusive club memberships. When he invited her to an after-party at his penthouse, she accepted without hesitation. Across the room, Marcus Chen watched the interaction briefly before returning to his conversation with Sarah Mitchell, the director of the youth shelter they were both supporting. He donated anonymously for years, but tonight he'd agreed to attend in person to meet the children who would benefit from the new wing his latest contribution would fund. "That's incredibly generous, Marcus," Sarah said, reviewing the pledge form. $5 million will change so many lives. Just don't make a big announcement about it," Marcus replied quietly. "The work matters, not the recognition." As weeks turned into months, Vanessa's life transformed into the fairy tale she'd always imagined, or so it appeared. Derek showered her with gifts, a diamond bracelet, designer handbags, weekend trips to Miami and Los Angeles. His social media showcased their relationship to his followers, with Vanessa always positioned perfectly in every photo, her smile radiant, her outfits impeccable. But behind the Instagram filters, cracks began to appear. Derek's generosity came with strings attached. He expected her to be available whenever he called, to cancel her own plans at a moment's notice. The designer gifts were always followed by comments about how she should dress, how she should act, who she should befriend. His charm in public dissolved into criticism in private. "You're gaining weight," he commented one evening as she reached for dessert. "My girlfriend needs to maintain certain standards. Why are you talking to that waiter?" he demanded after a dinner out. "You were practically flirting with him." Vanessa found herself walking on eggshells, constantly monitoring her behavior, her appearance, her words. The luxury came at the cost of her dignity, but she'd invested too much to walk away now. This was the life she'd worked for, wasn't it? Meanwhile, Marcus Chen continued his quiet life, largely out of the spotlight. He worked long hours at his company, not because he needed the money, but because he loved solving problems and creating opportunities for his team. On weekends, he volunteered at the youth shelter, teaching coding classes to teenagers who reminded him of his younger self, full of potential but lacking resources. One Saturday afternoon, fate intervened. Vanessa had escaped Derek's penthouse for a few hours, claiming a spa appointment but actually desperate for time alone. She found herself walking through Central Park. Her Louboutins traded for simple sneakers, her designer sunglasses hiding eyes that had cried more than she'd admit. She sat on a bench near the lake, watching families laugh and children play, wondering when the glamorous life she'd achieved had started feeling like a gilded cage. Vanessa. She looked up to see Marcus Chen, dressed in jeans and a simple pullover, holding coffee cups and looking genuinely surprised. "Marcus, from the gala. I remember, you're with Derek Ashford, right?" He gestured to the bench. "Mind if I sit? I'm waiting for some kids from the shelter program we're doing a coding workshop in the park today." As they talked, Vanessa discovered a different kind of wealth. Marcus spoke about his work with genuine passion, about the teenagers he mentored, about the businesses he helped his employees launch. He asked about her life with actual interest, listening when she spoke rather than waiting for his turn to talk. "You seem sad," Marcus observed gently. "Is everything okay?" The kindness in his voice broke something open inside her. Before she could stop herself, the truth spilled out: the controlling behavior, the constant criticism, the way Derek treated her like an accessory rather than a person. "But he gives you everything, doesn't he?" Marcus asked without judgment. "Everything except respect," Vanessa whispered. "Everything except kindness." Marcus was quiet for a moment. "My grandmother used to say that how someone treats you when they think no one is watching reveals their true character. Real wealth isn't about what you own. It's about who you are when stripped of all the external markers. It's about how you make others feel." Over the following weeks, Vanessa began to see Derek through new eyes. She noticed how he treated service staff with disdain, how he bragged about deals where he'd taken advantage of others, how his charity was always performed in front of cameras. His wealth was real, but it had made him entitled rather than grateful, arrogant rather than humble. She thought about Marcus, whose wealth exceeded Derek's, but whose lifestyle reflected different values. She'd learned he drove a modest Tesla, lived in a comfortable but not ostentatious apartment, and gave away more than half his income to causes he believed in. He'd started his company in his college dorm room, building it through innovation and integrity rather than inheritance. The breaking point came at another charity event 3 months later. Derek had insisted Vanessa wear a dress he'd purchased red and revealing, not her style at all. When she hesitated, he'd threatened to attend without her. She wore it. At the event, she watched Derek ignore the actual charity presentation to network and pose for photos. Meanwhile, Marcus sat with the children from the shelter, genuinely interested in their progress, his smile authentic rather than performed. When Derek loudly criticized the catering in front of the servers, Vanessa felt something inside her finally snap. "That's enough, Derek," she said quietly but firmly. "Excuse me?" His eyes flashed dangerously. "These people are working hard. Your rudeness is unnecessary and embarrassing. I'll decide what's embarrassing. Don't forget who bought that dress you're wearing, then take it back," Vanessa said, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "Take all of it back. I'd rather have my self-respect than your designer labels." She walked away from him, from the penthouse keys in her purse, from the lifestyle she'd thought she wanted. Outside, the cool night air felt like freedom. Vanessa, had followed her out. "Are you okay?" "I am now," she said, and meant it. "I just walked away from everything I thought I wanted." "Did you, though?" Marcus asked gently. "Or did you just walk away from things that were never going to make you happy?" In the months that followed, Vanessa rebuilt her life on a different foundation. She went back to school, pursuing the interior design degree she'd abandoned 5 years earlier. She volunteered alongside Marcus at the shelter, discovering that helping others filled her heart in ways that designer handbags never could. Marcus and Vanessa became friends, first genuine friends who challenged each other, supported each other, and brought out the best in one another. When their relationship eventually evolved into something more, it happened naturally, built on mutual respect and shared values rather than transactions and superficial attraction. One evening, a year after that fateful gala, they sat in Marcus's modest living room eating takeout pizza, a scene that would have horrified the old Vanessa. "Do you ever regret it?" Marcus asked. "Choosing the harder path." Vanessa looked around the simple apartment, at the man whose wealth was invisible but whose character shone through every action, and smiled. "I regret choosing wrong the first time," she admitted. "I was so focused on appearances that I couldn't see what actually mattered. You taught me that real richness isn't measured in dollars, it's measured in integrity, kindness, and how you use whatever resources you have to make the world better." "That's very wise," Marcus said, grinning. "Did you read that in a fortune cookie?" She laughed and threw a pillow at him, grateful for a man who could be both deeply thoughtful and wonderfully silly, who valued her mind as much as her beauty, who saw her as a partner rather than a possession. Derek's Instagram continued to showcase a parade of beautiful women, each one carefully positioned in his luxury lifestyle photographs, each one eventually replaced by the next. His followers loved the glamour, but those who knew him understood the emptiness behind the shine. Vanessa learned that she depicked the wrong rich guy that night at the gala, not because Derek was richer than Marcus, but because she'd chosen wealth over worth, flash over substance, appearance over character. True wealth, she discovered, isn't about what someone can buy you. It's about how they make you feel about yourself, how they treat others when there's nothing to gain, and whether their riches make them generous or greedy, humble or arrogant, kind or cruel. She'd picked the wrong rich guy that night. But in walking away, she'd found something far more valuable than diamonds. She'd found herself, and a love built on the kind of riches that actually matter.